Thank you, Senator Whitehouse.
Thanks very much, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here. I don't know if you remember, but when we first met, I gave your staff a fat binder full of economic warnings of what was going to take place if climate change weren't mitigated. And you indicated that you had actually read the Economist magazine cover article, which at least in its current version now says, as its headline, homeowners face a $25 trillion bill from climate change. To be clear, that's a global effect, not just in the U.S. Since then, a number of other things have happened, starting on the day we met when the International Financial Stability Board put out a warning report to the world's banking system that this climate change problem was coming at them, both in terms of reduced mortgage revenues if the mortgage markets collapse when insurance is no longer available due to climate risk, and in terms of loan-to-value ratios going south when home values fall because the property is no longer mortgageable because it's no longer insurable. So that warning has come out, and I would commend it to you and your team to have an honest look at it. Then First Street, which studies flood risk, came out with a report suggesting that we had a $1.4 trillion hit to U.S. home values looming, again, as a result of the same cascade that was originally, I think, best originally presented by the chief economist for Freddie Mac, who said when climate risk gets uninsurable, then mortgages become unavailable and property values crash. And his prediction was that would cascade into a 2008-style recession. That original warning was based on coastal property value risk. Now, of course, we have wildfire-adjacent property value risk that could be a similar catalyst. So I would also urge your team to look at that First Street report and evaluate it. Also, since then, Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve came to the Banking Committee and testified that 10 to 15 years, there'd be whole regions of the country in which mortgages were no longer available because of this insurance/mortgage problem. Allianz, as I think you probably know, is, I think, the biggest insurer in the world, trillion-dollar company with enormous stakes in getting stuff right in the insurance world. And one of their board members wrote an article that I would also commend to you and your team, highlighting the danger to the very insurance model from climate risk, highlighting the danger to the real estate model from failure in the insurance model, and also predicting damage in the financial system, both from the cascade of insurance to mortgage to values to the financial system, but also because a great number of transactions in the financial system are held together by an insurance component that would no longer be available. And I would commend that piece to your attention. And most recently, Fitch has just warned of danger to mortgage-backed bonds and municipal bonds coming from this climate risk, where the mortgages lose. We saw before 2008 what happens when mortgages lose their value because the underlying property isn't worth it. Then it was because they'd faked the value of the underlying property. Now it's because natural causes are knocking down the value of those properties irrecoverably in the case of, for instance, sea level rise. So, you know, I just am continuing to make this warning. I think these are really serious. I come from a coastal state. When you have storm warnings, you should pay attention. When there's storm clouds on the horizon, you should pay attention. So please take a look at those different articles that I've just mentioned. Your team is there to take notes. You've got the tape of this if you're interested. And have your federal insurance office and the Treasury Insurance Office take a look at this. And if you think that this is all wrong, if you think that climate change isn't real or is a hoax, if you think that it's not having an effect in insurance markets, if you think that that doesn't affect mortgage markets or that the unavailability of a mortgage doesn't damage the value of a middle-class home or that regional hits to real estate values aren't going to cause recession, then I'd like to have that argument, that conversation with you. But if you agree with me that those things are all both true and predicted, then I think we have to prepare. And I would urge you to prepare.
Good. Thank you, Senator. We likely agree on the direction, maybe not the magnitude. And I also believe that resiliency must be a component also, and we should move toward greater resiliency.
If you don't mind, when your team have had a look at those 5 articles that I mentioned, and you've got somebody who's on point on this issue, I'd like to have the opportunity to have a conversation with them.
I'd be happy to, and we have frequent interactions with the 50 state insurance regulators as part of the Financial Stability Oversight Council.